pick parts from your book to market for teasers without spoiling too much, but still being interesting. And with that, how do you market book 2 without spoiling book 1? Well, it really does come down to spoilers. So is it going to ruin somebody's experience? Don't say it if it is. You want to make sure that you've got things that people are looking for. So if you're looking for a section of your story that you can then market, you're going to be looking for something that revolves around the tropes. People look for things they recognize. So what are the tropes in your book? If it's enemies to lovers, what's a passage that screams enemies to lovers? It's going to be those angst, right? We're going to look for some kind of fight, some kind of battle between these two entities where we're seeing the hostility between them, but maybe a little bit of a spark. It's okay to have it further in the book. We're looking for the tropes. If you're leaning into the romance, you got to show me the romancy stuff. Do I understand that I am going to be reading them making out in a closet whenever inside of this book? Yes. Is it spoilery to the book? Yes. But am I looking for that? Yes. Because if I know I get that in a story, then I get why I want to get that. So it's okay to spoil it a little bit if it is giving them the genre and the trope that they need in order to buy it. If you can give me something that is going to get my interest, and that romance, those kissing scenes are going to get my interest, then I'm much more likely to buy your book. So it's okay to spoil it a little without spoiling it too much. And you want to keep as little as possible. Don't show big old passages. People are out here just like putting paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs on TikTok. Nobody's going to take the time to read that. They want the little spark. Okay, we're not doing the entire fire. We're doing the spark. Then that gets me to buy the book. Now, with all of that in mind, you are going to be looking for things that represent the genres and the tropes that people are looking for. Those are the selling points. Those are why people show up. Sure, they're going to love your character. Sure, they're going to love your romance. Sure, they're going to love your whatever. But they're coming to your book for the trope that they clearly recognize and they want to see more of. If I love dystopians with a chosen one complex, and I see that, I'm going, right? So you want to make sure anything that represents the tropes is what you're going to be using, and shorter is better. And of course, we know on Book Talk on TikTok, the spicier the better. So if you can go fiery things, by all means do that. Now, book 2, you have to understand that you should not be marketing book 2 within about a year of your first novel. Give people enough time to read it. Yes, you may be putting it out closer to that, but we're not spoiling it. We're not going to ruin things for people. You got to give them like a full year after that book before you're talking about book 2. You can say there's a book 2, you can say there's a sequel, you can say you're going to find out what happens, but we're not spoiling anything in book 1. So after a year or so, then you can do it. And again, this is all your own discretion. This is not necessarily something where you have to be like, she said a year, it has to be a year, it's 365 days. It's not that. Give your audience enough time to have read it. If you have a teeny tiny audience and you're not getting more audience, if you've got 12 people and those 12 people read your book and you are not getting more people for months, talk about book 2. But if you have new people coming in on the daily or the weekly, you're going to want to give it a little bit of time, especially if you're hoping to go viral on social media. If you want to be the new it author, you got to give them that time. So we're not talking about book 2 in terms of the content of book 2 for a good chunk of time to give enough people time to have read that first book. Now, internally, you can talk about that second book. So I don't recommend talking about the second book on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. I do recommend talking about the second book in your street team, in your closed Facebook group. People who have already read those stories, by all means. Now you're just doing the teaser thing and you're saying, okay, here's how it is. Here's what's up. And you can put it like spoiler for book 2 if you haven't read book 1. If you're here for one of my other series and you haven't read book 1, don't read this yet. You can do that. But you, for the most part, inside of your closed group with your close fans, there's no such thing as spoilers. You can put whatever you need to out there. So you just want to be very, very careful that you're not spoiling book 1 for people who haven't read it yet, especially if it's brand new. So give it that gap of time, many months to a year. Then you can start doing things in book 2. Before that, you're going to lean into book 1. And you can actually market book 2 by marketing book 1. You can market book 2 by marketing book 1. I'm just saying. You can say, the second book is out now. You can say, oh, do you remember this from book 1? And you can tease things without actually giving away book 2. So you just have to be smart and creative about it. But for the most part, especially if you're brand new, I know that you're new. You're a brand new author. You just dropped your debut. Your second book is coming out much faster than most people's. You have to pump the brakes a little bit because you're getting ahead of yourself. Not with putting the book out, because you 100% should be, but you are getting ahead of yourself with your marketing. Heavily market book 1. The other thing is, nobody cares about book 2. You're only selling book 1. You're only selling book 1 because people are not going to buy book 2 if they haven't read book 1. So for all of your marketing, any ads you're running, any marketing that you're doing should heavily be invested in book 2. In book 1. Your book 2 marketing solely and specifically in almost every case should be, and there's a sequel, and the book 2 is out, and the final book in this duology is out, whatever it happens to be. Heavily marketing book 1. You're marketing to new readers. And then inside of your internal groups, you can market the second book specifically to people who have already read it. And specifically, if you are doing rapid release or kind of rapid release, you should at least know what your second book is about. You can create your blurb in advance and put it in the back of book 1. It's a really smart thing to do. Put the blurb for book 2 in the back of book 1 with a buy link so that they can easily grab it, even if it's on pre-order for a long time. There's options. And here's an extra bonus. If you are putting your blurb in the back of book 1 and you don't have a buy link yet, and even if you do have a buy link, this is what you should be doing. You need to have your author website, create a subdomain with that book's name. So book2.yourwebsite.com. And use that as a redirect. Until that point, you can send it to a page saying, coming soon, book 2. And when you have the buy link, you just swap out the redirect to the Amazon page, to the draft to digital page, or to the books to read page, so that they're all there in that aggregated section on your page or on a page. You are creating a never-changing link, a subdomain on your website, and then you can swap it out whenever you need to. That link with the redirect can then go to a buy link. It can go to a coming soon link. It can go to about this book link. It can change whenever you need to without having to reformat your entire novel. You should always be doing that in all of your books if you know that there are follow-ups, and if you have other books, even if they're in different series, those should be in the back of your books as well. So questions, comments on this, go ahead and drop them down below. We can continue having this conversation, but when it comes to marketing, you're investing your time and efforts, all of them, into book 1 and just a little bit into book 2 with the people you already know are going to be doing that. But for the most part, marketing a second book publicly isn't going to serve your purposes unless it's to say, this series is now complete, here you go. Or if they do kind of function as standalones and they don't have to be read in a series. If they don't have to be read in a series, then you can market it as its own entity.